How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 3.
Greetings, conversationalists. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States. I am delighted to have you with me. I hope it's warmer where you are than it is where I am, although I think the whole nation is cold right now and traffic is still terrible today. My poor wife has a series of doctor's appointments tomorrow and Wednesday and decided she would just drive up, get a hotel room in Atlanta. We're about an hour south of Atlanta, and she's just going to stay up there instead of having to drive back and forth, and said road construction and traffic is so bad this afternoon. The hour drive is taking her multiple hours to get where she's going. So I hope you got smooth sailing and good traffic where you are. Don't forget to text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777 to get the live stream, the show notes, the podcast, so much more. All the stuff I talk about in the show, the links to all the articles, we put them in there. So I don't have to think for you. You can think for yourself and read the articles yourself. I want to talk about student loans. I'm going to save the broader philosophical stuff for the bottom of this hour. But the Republicans need some good ideas right now. Things are not looking well for them headed into the midterms. And it's very interesting to me that a lot of the people who were pretty convinced the Democrats would never take back power are starting to realize that not only can they, but they probably will. And that's going to be a real problem for the president's agenda. But they have some opportunities still. And one of the opportunities is student loans. I remember when this happened, I was a lawyer at the time, and it was the Bush administration that decided to make student loans non-dischargeable in bankruptcy. Now, let me explain this one to you. When you go bankrupt, when you file for bankruptcy and you've got a lot of debts, there are dischargeable and non-dischargeable debts. One of the non-dischargeable debts is your taxes. You absolutely must pay your federal taxes, and you get in trouble if you don't pay your taxes. You can go to jail if you don't pay your taxes, and you cannot file bankruptcy and get out of paying your taxes. You got to pay your taxes. There are a number of things like that that are considered non-dischargeable. Let me pull up the list here. Non-dischargeable debt in bankruptcy. Taxes being one. And there's an order, by the way. Domestic support obligations, alimony, child support, you can't get out of that. Most of your taxes, you can't get out of that. Most student loans, you can't get out of that. Government fines and penalties, you can't get out of that. Debts for personal injury or death caused by intoxication. You killed someone in a DUI, you're going to pay that debt for the rest of your life. And if you forget to put a debt in a bankruptcy petition, you're obligated to pay it. So those are the things, non-dischargeable debts, domestic support obligations for child support, alimony, and the like, taxes, government fines and penalties, deaths because you killed someone, debts that you didn't list in your bankruptcy petition. And then in the early 2000s, in the Bush administration, they added student loans. Banks and colleges wanted student loans to be non-dischargeable, but here's the problem. The moment you say a person is obligated for the rest of their life to pay off their student loan no matter what, is the moment colleges have no incentive to rein in their costs. Think about this. You go to Honda and you want a Honda Civic. and you are not allowed to ever get rid of the payment. You can't file for bankruptcy. You can't get out of it. If you buy that Honda Civic, you are required for the rest of your life to pay that debt off. Honda has no incentive to keep the cost down, because one of the ideas behind pricing is if this person can get out of paying this debt through bankruptcy, well, I might not get my money back. Well, if you know for certain that person is never going to get out of paying the debt, charge what you want. They're going to be stuck with it for the rest of their life. Now, you can say, well, I'm not going to go buy the Honda Civic. I'm going to go buy the Ford F-150. What if you make car loans non-dischargeable? Every car price is going to go up. The terms of every loan are going to go up. Interest rates are going to go up because they've got no incentive to keep costs down. Now, that one's easy. You can quibble with that one, but education you can't, because we actually have the real world data to prove the point. The moment the law was changed during the Trump era, the Bush era, and student loans were suddenly non-dischargeable, college prices started going up. And college prices have outpaced inflation every year for the most part. And why not? You don't have to pay the loan when you're in college. I have another 13 or 14 years on my law school loans, and I intend to pay them off. They're non-dischargeable anyway. I haven't taken any of the waivers. I'm going to pay them off. I haven't practiced law since 2006. I'm still paying on my law school loans. Colleges have no incentive to rein in the cost, because they know you're never going to go bankrupt and get rid of the loans. Lenders have no incentive to apply pressure to the colleges to rein in costs. It was the colleges and the banks that wanted this. They got what they wanted, and Katie bar the door. They have skyrocketed the costs of lending for college. Make it dischargeable again. The moment the government allows students to file for bankruptcy, their credit's going to be gone. It's going to be destroyed for 7 years, but they're going to get out of their college loans. And guess what? The colleges and the lenders are now suddenly going to have to ask themselves, should we do this? Should we give this loan? Is it worth it? And how can we rein in costs so we're not left holding the bag? You're going to put the calculation back on them and not the student. So again, for those of you who don't have college loans, this is very important for you to understand that when you are in college and grad school, you don't have to pay the loan off. The interest just compounds. And then when you get out of college, if you have a hardship, if you've got a financial hardship, you can defer the loans. I had to do that multiple times when I got out of law school. I had to defer my loans. I had to defer my loans because my wife had health issues. She had a double mastectomy. We had large medical bills. I wasn't making a lot of money. We had to restructure the payments, spread them out. That's why I'm still paying on my loans. So you don't feel the cost of it until you get out of school, and then you can defer your payments if you have financial need. The interest continues to compound the whole time, and you get into debt up to your eyeballs. I got into debt up to my eyeballs. I fully financed my law school education with loans. I didn't get a scholarship. It was a dumb decision in hindsight, although I don't regret law school because I learned a lot. I learned how to think. I learned how to do research. I learned how to be a better writer, all these things. The skills that I got in law school have come in very handy for me in what I do, even though I don't practice law anymore. I'm not going to file for bankruptcy. I've got too much to lose, but there are a lot of kids getting out of college with massive loans who filing for bankruptcy. They got nothing to lose. They could file for bankruptcy. Right now, they're stuck paying their student loans. They can't get the fresh start they want. It's time for the government to make student loans dischargeable again. Now, that gets into the subject of the nursing loans. I had not heard about this topic. We had a caller on Tuesday of last week who brought it up. I had to research it and figured out what was going on. The left has seized on this as a way to lock in the women's vote, and they're badly misrepresenting what's going on. This is Devidra Bazemore Blue. She's on MS Now, the new progressive MSNBC, talking about this issue about loans for nursing school. Listen to this.
You know firsthand how expensive and exhausting the schooling and licensing process is for social work. The administration has been arguing that these caps will ultimately drive down the cost of school and keep debt levels lower. So what do you think this change is really about?
Thank you, ladies, for having me. I think the first thing that we have to really consider is that nothing drives the prices down when you take the option away from students from having federal loans. It will ultimately kick them into a private loan industry where they will have higher interest rates, where they won't have the benefit of income-based student loan repayments. It will cause more women, Black and brown women, who are the predominant leaders in these industries, to forego school altogether.
Let me tell you what's happening here. The progressives are seizing on this issue as a rally the women for the election issue. Here's what's happening. The education department, not the Trump education department, the education department generally, the Biden administration, the Obama administration, the Trump administration, the Bush administration, the Clinton administration, they don't use the label graduate degrees. They use the label professional degrees. It's an internal labeling scheme for graduate degrees, medical degrees, for doctors, for lawyers, postgraduate degrees. They've decided to classify specific categories of jobs as professional degrees. So it's law, it's medicine. There are a couple others in there, so that you can get expanded graduate school loans up to $200,000 in lending as opposed to $100,000 in lending. It has nothing to do with nursing programs because all but a handful of schools in this country treat nursing programs as undergraduate degrees. You get a bachelor's in nursing science. That's a bachelor's degree. They've taken nursing out of the professional category, and what the left is saying is that they're devaluing nursing. They're no longer treating it as a professional degree. That's not actually what's happening here. Remember, the professional category for the Department of Education purposes is a graduate degree. There are only a handful. I think I can count them on with just my fingers. Don't even need my toes. The number of schools in this country that make you get a master's degree for nursing. I think I can count them all on one hand. I don't know the names, but I think it's 5 programs in the country I read. And those 5 programs will no longer be allowed to bleed nurses dry because the overwhelming number of programs in this country that give nursing degrees do it at the bachelor's degree level, not the master's degree level. That's all this is about, is a categorization for graduate degrees and undergraduate degrees. Bachelor's degrees versus master's degrees. The professional degree category is about getting your medical license for a doctor, getting your law license for a lawyer, a handful of other jobs. Nursing degrees have always been treated at the undergraduate level as a bachelor's program, with the exception of about 5 or 6 universities in the country. Those 5 or 6 universities are running a scheme convincing progressives that the Trump administration is declaring nurses' degrees no longer professional and no longer eligible for student loans. That's a lie. What they're saying is that because there are only 5 or 6 institutions in the entire country that treat nursing programs at the master's level, they're going to need to revise their curriculum to treat them as a bachelor's degree because you're not going to be able to bilk nurses for these loans. Essentially, the progressive case here is that nurses should be entitled to be saddled with massive education loans. And the Trump administration, by preventing nurses from being saddled with massive education loans, is somehow at war with nurses when they're actually protecting the women who are headed into nursing from being abused by the student lenders. But you wouldn't know that from them. All this is an internal categorization between graduate degrees and undergraduate degrees. Most nurses in this country who have gotten their nursing degree did not get a master's or doctorate degree in nursing. They got an undergraduate Bachelor of Science in Nursing degree, and nothing's going to change for them. It's only those 6 institutions that are bilking nurses out of master's degrees for nursing that are treated as bachelor's degrees everywhere else that are going to have the problem. And yet the left has seized on this issue because they apparently want women who are getting nursing degrees to be indebted to the federal government for the rest of their lives. And by the way, again, Republicans, If you make student loans dischargeable in bankruptcy, this whole issue goes away. Maybe you should do that. Guys, if you struggle to come up with gifts for family members, I got a suggestion for you, the Cove Pure. I love mine. I wasn't sure I would like it as much as I do, and I really, really, really do. What is a Cove Pure? Well, it's an water filtration system. It's on the countertop. You can get cold water. You can get hot water. It even has a bottle button, so you can get the warm bottle perfect for formula for your baby at night. It's really easy. It's so convenient. I use it all the time in my office. You will love it. It sits on the countertop. It uses reverse osmosis. It gets rid of like pharmaceuticals, fluoride, lead, arsenic. It's the purest water you can get. It tastes fantastic. If you're looking for a great gift for your loved ones or for yourself that they're actually going to use the Cove Pure. I partnered with them. They're giving you a $250 holiday discount with my link, covepure.com/Eric. That's COVEPURE.com/Eric, ERICK. You get $250 off, covepure.com/Eric. The sale is going to end, so take advantage of this $250 holiday discount, covepure.com/Eric. Hello there. Welcome. I got to clarify something because a whole lot of you misunderstood me and you're calling my call screener and you're yelling at him. I know that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of institutions around the country where you can get a nursing degree. I know that. What I said was that there are only 6 or 7 in the nation that are going to be affected by this Department of Education change on the classification of professional degrees. There are lots and lots and lots of others out there. In fact, the majority of nursing programs in this country are classified as bachelor's degrees. The problem is the classification for graduate school degrees. There are only a handful of universities in the country where you have to get a bachelor's degree and then go on to a master's program for nursing. Most students in this country who go into nursing get a bachelor's of science in nursing. And those programs, there are hundreds, if not thousands of programs around the country will not be affected by this Department of Education rule. And by the way, it's a proposed rule, you should know. It's not actually implemented. It's a proposed rule. But most institutions in this country that do nursing programs are treated at the bachelor level, the undergraduate level, not the graduate level. There are only a handful of them that require you to get into essentially a master's program. That's what this rule affects, is graduate programs, not undergraduate programs. The nursing program was taken out of the classification because overwhelmingly universities and colleges in this country handle nursing programs at the undergraduate level, not the graduate level. That's all this is changing. I didn't say there are only 6 or 7 universities where you can get a nursing degree. I said there are only 6 or 7 affected by the change. So stop calling my call screener and yelling at him. I'm right about some stuff, including this. Now, let me tell you, I'm right about Hillsdale College as well. You can actually learn a lot from Hillsdale College. If you go to ericforhillsdale.com, you can find a class at Hillsdale you're interested in, get their professors talking to you. They're 30-minute, do it at your own pace, video lectures. Depends on the class, depends on the number of episodes. They're all really good. You learn a lot. The one on capitalism, for example, I think has 7 episodes, and I call them episodes. They're 30 minutes, 7 of them. These video lectures, you do it, you make your way through it at your own pace, you get a certificate of completion, and it's free. You get smarter about a topic you're interested in at no cost to you, courtesy of Hillsdale College, by going to ericforhillsdale.com. Whether it's economics or math or chemistry or political science, American history, philosophy, literature, you find so much. ericforhillsdale.com, E-R-I-C-K, ericforhillsdale.com. Sign up today at Hillsdale College. Get smarter about something you're interested in. You don't pay a penny to Hillsdale College. They just make you smart. And they do it with education, not indoctrination. Eric, E-R-I-C-K, ericforhillsdale.com. Sign up with Hillsdale College today. In business, they say you can have better, cheaper, or faster, but you can only pick two. What if you could have all three at the same time? That's exactly what Cohere, Thomson Reuters, and Specialized Bikes have since they've upgraded to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. OCI is the blazing fast platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs, where you can run any workload in a high availability, consistently high performance environment and spend less than you would with other clouds. How's it faster? OCI's block storage gives you more operations per second. Cheaper? OCI costs up to 50% less for compute, 70% less for storage, and 80% less for networking. Better? In test after test, OCI customers report lower latency and higher bandwidth versus other clouds. This is the cloud built for AI and for all your biggest workloads. Right now, with zero commitment, try OCI for free. Head to oracle.com/Erickson, ERICKSON. That's oracle.com/Erickson. Greetings, conversationalists. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States. The phone number is 877-973-7425, should you wish to be on the program. I saved this for the end today because I have a sense that some of you you're in defense mode now. And the bad news you don't want to hear. So I want to talk instead about ideas. I'll be honest with you. I keep nothing from my audience. If anything, I am accused often of oversharing. I am concerned that the president, because he is a gut-level politician, and he's not a conservative. He himself has said he's not a conservative. He's for common sense. He's done so much so hard and moved so fast with so many things that because there's not an overarching philosophical disposition, he's got to come up with new ideas. And at this point, he's done so much so fast, he's hit the holiday season, and they're not sure where to go. If you're governed by a overarching philosophy, whether on the left or on the right, you have a sense of how to transform everything in the country and to herd the sheep to get there. But you can get a strategy. But at this point, the White House does seem a little lacking in strategy, lacking in overall vision, lacking in where to go. And the president's frustration with this came out over the holiday with a series of social media posts attacking Joe Biden, threatening to arrest Joe Biden, and just it was like, is this guy enjoying his Thanksgiving? Why is he on social media so much, losing his mind? Why is he not with his family? When you run out of a philosophical, overarching, guiding conviction, you run out of ideas quicker. And the president is very dogmatically convinced that we have to keep the tariffs. That was one of his insistences over the weekend, was that we're bringing in so much money from the tariffs that we can get rid of the income tax, except we know we're only bringing in a few $100 billion in tariffs in reality, which isn't enough to get rid of the income tax. And it's also hurting the economy. There's a report out that the largest global importer of aluminum into the United States is now charging a surcharge if you want aluminum in the United States. They make their aluminum out of the United States. We don't produce enough aluminum in this country to satisfy our need. And even if we did, one of the major aluminum factories in the country is caught on fire, is out of commission, hasn't gotten back up to speed yet. So we're importing even more aluminum. There's a 25% tariff on it. And now the major aluminum importer into the United States is surcharged. They're trying to incentivize the aluminum going to other countries and not to us as payback. They're mad about the Trump tariffs. That drives up our costs, drives up the cost for home building, drives up the cost for construction, drives up the cost for cars, drives up the cost for beer. Beer cans, they get expensive. We need to get rid of them, the tariffs. We need to make student loans dischargeable in bankruptcy. We need to work with Republican state-controlled legislatures to do uniform land legislation on restrictions and regulations to make it easier to build a house. We need to do a number of things to stimulate the economy at the macro and the micro level. And there are things the president can do. Some of those he's dogmatically insisting that are working that they aren't. And I just get the sense that there's an exhaustion that's setting into the White House. Tomorrow in Tennessee, there's a special election. It's going to be interesting to see it. I don't expect the Democrat to win. If the Democrat does win, expect a wave of retirement announcements from Republicans in the House because they will expect a bloodbath. But it shouldn't even be close, and it's probably going to be close. And what's notable is that in Tennessee's 7th Congressional District, Matt Van Epps is the Trump-supported Republican candidate. He is running not a single ad about Donald Trump. He's running ads about how wackadoo nuts the progressive is he's running against. And by the way, she is very out to lunch, very out of touch. She was a police abolitionist. She hates Tennessee and Nashville. She's attacked it. She's tried to spin her way out of it. She can't. They're hanging her on her own words about how much she hates Nashville, how much she hates the people of the district in which she would represent, how much she dislikes the country, how much she hates the police, on and on and on and on and on it goes. But it's notable, and you got to pay attention to this, because in 2022, the way the Democrats neutralized a lot of Republican advantages is they attacked MAGA. Very few Democrats in 2022 in the midterm congressional races ran ads wrapping themselves around Joe Biden. He wasn't very popular. And it was a sign to everyone that Biden had problems because people were not campaigning on pro-Biden rah-rah stuff. They were campaigning against the Republicans were wackadoo and out to lunch. And it worked for them to a degree. That the Republican now in Tennessee in a district that went for Donald Trump by 22, I said 20, it's 22 points. Amy Walters at the Cook Political Index pointed out it was 22. Donald Trump won that district by 22 points. The fact that the Republican running in that district is not running ads wrapping himself around Donald Trump or Donald Trump around him, but is instead just running attack ads against the Democrat that she's too radical, is a sign that the polling is not good in a Trump 22 district. And I got to tell you, I do my daily email, and if you're a paid subscriber, you get to leave comments. And a lot of my commenters over the years have they've been more mad at me for criticizing the president. And many of these commenters who've been very defensive of the president in the last couple of months kind of been like, well, yeah, we got to do something. The president and his team need a reset. Normally resets come about 2 years in. The team is exhausted. They're tired. They're beat down. They're worn out. They're out of ideas. This president has moved so fast, so quickly. He's done so much. It's been a whirlwind. It's December 1st, folks. We're not even 12 months into this administration, and think about everything he's done. Abroad and at home, think about everything he's done. I can't keep up with it. It's exhausting. They've got to be exhausted. It's understandable. They haven't paced themselves. They got in January 20th of 2025, and it was off to the races. And they have been running full steam ahead. And they're starting to make mistakes that shouldn't be made. And they're starting to run out of steam. And there are people inside this administration who they're very loyal to Donald Trump, but they're nursing grudges and they're using their time in office to settle scores with people within the Republican Party they don't like. They're spending more time attacking fellow Republicans. Think about this administration and their attacks on Thomas Massie, whether you like Thomas Massie or not. They're trying to find a primary candidate to challenge Thomas Massie in Kentucky because they think he obstructs too much of the president's agenda. In a sane White House where they're functioning to win, they would not be taking donor money to challenge a Republican who's going to vote for a Republican majority in the House. They would be using that money to go after Democrats. You may not like Thomas Massie. You may like him. It doesn't matter. A Republican raising money to go after a Republican in the House of Representatives right now, when you got so much on the line, that's kind of a misallocation of resources. It's a misallocation of time. It's a misallocation of strategy. There are opportunities for the GOP to mitigate what's coming. I was talking to a very pro-Trump Republican senator over the weekend. And he was kind of chuckling. He said, you know, you've got these young guys on social media. A lot of them, they work for the Trump administration. And they say, you don't know what time it is. Don't you know what time it is? And what they mean by that is you essentially got to abandon all your prior held convictions, your strategies, your governing limits, and you got to go full bore and fight. You don't know what time it is. Time is running out. We got to save the country. And he's like, these guys don't know what time it is in the White House. And he's not talking about the president. He's talking about the president's team. He says they don't know what time it is. They're always asking, don't you know what time it is? They don't know what time it is. The time is mitigation strategy before the midterms, and they're not doing it. And he's deeply frustrated. He's not going anywhere. He's not even on the ballot this time. But he's voicing the frustration that Republicans who are close to Donald Trump have about Donald Trump's team right now. Because he sees what's coming. A special election in Tennessee's 7th Congressional District shouldn't be close. Maybe the polling is wrong. We're going to find out tomorrow. The real polls matter tomorrow, and we'll find out the data. If it's close, you're going to have panic. So the question is, what do you do to mitigate it? You need unifying ideas. The Republican strategy of attacking the Democrats as too wackadoo woke and too far left is actually a good mitigation strategy. People don't like the Republicans, but they really hate the Democrats. That's the thing the Democrats have missed in all of this. People may not like the president, but he's still more popular than the Democrats. So attacking the Democrats as wackadoo, nuts, out to lunch, and too far left is actually a good strategy. But also offering other ideas, another reconciliation package to give more tax cuts, to stimulate small business growth would be good. Getting rid of the tariffs would be good. Making student loans dischargeable would be good. Land and regulatory reform for building houses would be good. Incentivizing housing structure and building in this country would be good. Going with the YIMBYs instead of the NIMBYs, yes in my backyard instead of no in my backyard, would be good. More deregulation would be good. If the Democratic wave comes, the Democratic wave is going to be bad because it will stymie, stall, and stop so much of the agenda. And so much of the agenda has been done through executive order, it's going to be hard to keep it together. But you could do another reconciliation package legislatively. You could undoubtedly get Democrats to agree to make student loans dischargeable. And you could actually pressure Republican legislatures, not on the redistricting front, but on the deregulation front for home building. These would be consistent with common sense. He calls himself common sense, not conservative common sense. These would be consistent with common sense. These would stimulate the economy. And these would show Americans you're not out of ideas. It would give Republicans something to rally to other than just attacking the left. And you would find Democratic opposition to all of these things just because at this point, Democrats are opposed to anything Republicans support. So if Republicans come out and they support these things that are on the 85% side of the 85-25 divide or the 85-15 divide, you're gonna win. I don't know what's happening that the administration seems to be just on pause with implementation of ideas other than riling up the left. But they got to reengage. And the president's social media tirades over this long holiday weekend suggest to me he's feeling frustrated. And there are a lot of people screaming, Susie Wiles, Susie Wiles, Susie Wiles. What's she doing? I don't know, but she's probably tried to figure it out. But also, I would tell the White House, back to this conversation I had with the senator, you got to start operating as if the Republicans in Congress are a team, not just yes votes, because they're getting upset with you for taking them for granted. People have egos. Whether you or I like it or not, people have egos, and these egos of these congressmen are big. They need to be nurtured. They need to be loved. They need to be allowed to feel like they're giving input. Otherwise, you're going to see more retirements, and that's just going to open the floodgates for more potential Democratic wins. As this member of the Senate told me the other day, the White House team doesn't seem to know what time it is. It's time to do as much mitigation of the midterms as is possible, and that requires a legislative agenda. It also requires making the economy work for people who don't feel like it's working for them right now, instead of tell them it is and they're ungrateful, because that's what Biden did, and it didn't work for him either. To the phones, let's go to Christopher. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Good.
I would like to propose that a couple things based on my experience in politics and business, that the Republicans as a whole, with obviously the administration leading, need to stop focusing on, Biden caused the problem. They need to outline everything that they've done to solve the problem, which, as you pointed out, they've done a lot of things, but they've done so many that they've never been able to get credit for all these things. And I got to tell you, as a businessman, I'm in a much better situation because of the big, beautiful bill in terms of hiring people, investing, and creating real opportunities for the families that we employ. And I think what they need is a very measured, thoughtful approach to just laying out all the details, and do it on all the talk shows, local media, everything else, and just don't listen and be intimidated by this whole affordability thing. It's a kind of a charade, because the Democrat, the answer is to create more unaffordability.
Right.
So we just have to come up with better words and better messaging on this thing, because we actually have a winning program, and I'm putting my money behind it. And I've been through this, in political elections over a lot of years, and running in local offices and winning and things. And this is what you need to do. You got to get your message out.
Yeah, they do need to get the message out. And part of me also thinks the president needs to be barnstorming the country now. And he hasn't done a lot of big campaign events. He hasn't done a lot of big rallies. Get out there, tell people what they've actually done, but also tell people what they're going to do. So one of the big issues I think a lot of politicians forget is, don't tell me what you've done, tell me what you're going to do. And there's clearly the American people don't feel like the economy has clicked for them yet. So tell them not just what you've done, but also that the fight continues, and we're going to keep doing good things. Get out there and do it. The fact that people are calling the program, expressing this frustration, not just me talking about it, should be notice to the White House. You gotta start getting the president out there now and sell the agenda. Look, part of the problem out there is like banking right now too is unstable. Swiss America has been sounding the alarm about a secret war on cash for some time, and they would love to help you talk about this assault on freedom, get you their report, the secret war on cash, help take care of your finances. All you have to do is call or text 800-289-2646. The all-out war on cash includes digital forms of currency. All you have to do is call or text them at 800-289-2646. 800-289-2646. Mention my name, Eric, E-R-I-C-K, when you call or text 800-289-2646. You can also go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric, SwissAmerica.com/ERICK. Let Swiss America help you. Message and data rates may apply.